Started the recording. So today what we're going to do is we are going to look at the finals for our last project, Project 7, which was our typeface, historical typeface poster. Then we're going to talk a little bit more about the golden section, which I know we've talked about for a couple weeks. I have 2 examples I want to show you that. Then we're going to start a new assignment, which is a wordmark logo. Yeah, we're going to do that. With that, does anyone want to go first as far as showing their finals?
I can go.
No? Okay, go ahead.
What the? Okay. So, this is my final. I originally had started working on another one, and I worked on it for several hours on end. And it just, the more I worked on it, the more I realized that the design just wasn't working for what I was looking for.
Okay.
So I went with a simpler design, which I like, and added color to it because originally it was in grayscale. And I worked with, creating depth and like the hierarchy of information. You could see that the lighter the information, the more important it is, I would say.
Oh, good. I'm glad you mentioned that. And did you be sure when you do your assignment, did you write a little write-up to explain that as well?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great way to show hierarchy. Yeah, especially with the background being almost the same value, just different colors.
Mm-hmm. And I had a different value, like a different color, just to add some contrast and some interest, because it was originally going to be like a dark blue, but it just didn't work as nicely as with this orange.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it turned out really well, especially for what I was looking for.
Sure. Remind me, what was the other design you worked? You don't have to show it, but just what was the other design that you started off with?
It was the kind of kindergarten, if you remember.
Yes, with the like block type things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every once in a while you start on something, you think it's a good idea, and you got to switch. So that's good. Mm-hmm. Okay. How did you decide? Just tell everyone, how did you decide to align your other words? I see how you aligned Futura, but how did you decide, where to put Bauhaus and geometric and that type of stuff?
Well, I worked around with it. I moved everything around. But for me, that's what it worked out as. For instance, it's like I put the geometric on the right side because originally everything was more to the left, including Paul Remmer, and I was like, okay, it's way too strong on the left. It's very unbalanced. But I felt that moving things over to the right, even if it was just a geometric and Paul Remmer, that it still created balance, especially with the size of both Paul Remmer and geometric.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what everyone else thinks. If any thoughts, Belinda, any thoughts for Noah?
No, I like it. I like the colors and how everything works together.
Anything in particular you like about the color?
I like how it's different colors, and then, like you said, it creates a good visual.
Okay, good visual hierarchy with the color. Okay, Daniel, any thoughts for Noah?
I'm really happy with what he came out with because we knew each other since school, and sometimes we send each other like our like process and like kind of give each other opinions on it. And I saw the original final that he was trying to do, and I'm kind of really happy he decided to go with a whole new design, even though he's put a lot of time into the other one. And this one just comes out much better, even though it is simpler, but simple is never a bad option.
Okay. Oh, sure. Nick, I see you just joined us. You did not hear all of Noah's explanation, but any thoughts on this poster?
I love the background, really working. The blue and kind of brownish orange definitely make it subtle and stand out. I love the 3D design that you went with for the A's, stacking like that. Very cool. Yeah, good color scheme. Yep.
Yeah, it's all working. So did you try, I have a question just, Noah, if you tried something, did you try, so basically Germany and geometric are very much reflecting each other, almost, right?
Yeah, I suppose so.
And you have the G's both, sort of into the middle of the poster and then the words going away. Did you try flipping Germany around with the G at the bottom? Did you ever try that? Did that not look as good?
I didn't like how it looked because
Okay.
it created the feeling that, like, I agree with going to the right, it feels nice, but I like the idea of it kind of filling out like a whole circle rather than just straight falling down. And I know that goes against, the principle of always wanting to go from kind of right to left.
No, I understand. I just
left
wanted to know if I just want to know if you tried it. So you didn't like how it looked because it looks good like this.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. With that same thing, I have to say, did you try, and this might look really bizarre, did you try flipping Bauhaus backwards?
I didn't, but
Okay.
at the same time, I felt like that
It would look
would have
weird.
looked bizarre. Yeah.
It would have looked bizarre. It would have been definitely funky. I'd be tempted just because the German and geometric work so well, and I don't know if I'd flip Paul Rimmer.
Mm-hmm.
Just because that's a name, but Bauhaus, although it's a weird word, not a lot of people know it in the United States, although some people do. Flipping that backwards might be interesting. So,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Unshare your thing. Belinda, you want to go next?
Yeah, I can. Hold on.
Great. Tell us about it.
Well, originally it was all black and white, and I really didn't like it. It didn't really do anything. It's kind of like muted. And then I just played around with the color, and I like this color very much. And I just wanted to keep it simple.
Oh, it's definitely simple. So tell us about how you lined up that W and the actual letters, uppercase and lowercase.
Well, the letters were so much different. I had them going across the entire page. And then you could see, like, there were some, like, ends and stuff. They were, like, hanging inside the letters or hanging out and stuff like that. So I wanted to put the lowercase inside of it just so it would not be across the entire page, and then try to divide up the uppercase so that nobody would be hanging on the W.
Okay. So that the giant W is working really well with the upper and lowercase letters going through that. So did you tell us about your decision to where you put the name, Claude Garamond and the designer?
With them, I mean, they are important people. Like Claire Garamond, he designed it, and then Robert, he did the Adobe version. I just wanted them to be like kind of centered in the poster, just on the top. But they are important, but Claude is very more important than Robert.
Sure. Did you try slanting them to go along with the slant of the cap height of the W?
I did not.
Okay. I'd be very tempted to slant, especially Claude Garamond at the top, to fill that, to go along with the top of the W and maybe make it bigger. And then maybe doing a similar slant with Robert Slimbach at the bottom, just as a thought. Now, it looks good like this, but I'd want to try that to see how that looked.
Okay.
Okay, thoughts, other people? Daniel, thoughts?
I really like the color choice on it. And I agree with you, like with the temptation of trying to slant the alphabet as well. Kind of keep that theme going. But yeah, it's a really simple design and I like it.
Yep, good, simple, good. And the W, one of that W that does cross over and keep going is one of the interesting parts about Garamond. Nick, any thoughts?
I think it's I think it could use more content. Maybe, you've got a capital W, maybe a lowercase w as well. Just like playing on different sizes of things in the background, maybe add more to the background, or maybe like use the letters in Garamond to do something, or it's good color choice, but it's overly simple in this case, I think.
You do have a lot of negative space. Did you have a little paragraph or anything, Belinda, of sort of little thoughts about the key parts to the font that you found?
I did, but I didn't have it on this poster.
Okay.
I didn't
might
have
be
it on
worth-
the original design either.
Okay. Noah, any thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I stepped away there and grabbed something, but when I came back, my first thought was like, "Oh, that looks good." I thought it looks classy. I like the W, the slant. It almost looks like it could be like a logo of something. I think that everyone had some good like input, especially like I maybe like to see some of that negative space like be experimented with. Maybe put some more information, like Nick says or said. But I think it's a good design.
Yeah. Interesting. Now that I just looked at, I don't know if you guys have seen that, but the video for today, the 100 word marks, and this does almost turned, this W turned this way, could almost be something else. Could be a face, all kinds of things. Interesting. Okay. Thank you, Belinda. Unshare your poster. Who's next? Daniel, you want to show your final?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. All right, so this is the final I decided to go with. I believe it was the last Wednesday or Monday, I think. This one really just kind of developed on its own because I'm not sure. I think it was you, Nick, and Noah that were in that session.
Yep.
It was Georgia kind of bouncing up in like a loop instead of the way it's just going straight down in here. And it was bouncing off of some small letters, but I came into like some design issues with that, and it was just being really difficult. So I ended up just kind of changing it to going like this, where each letter bounced off of each other. And it looked good at first, but with just one color, it looked really basic and simple. So each letter here is pretty much it almost goes from dark to light, but it doesn't follow that pattern exactly completely. And then added the 1993, the 4 different versions, added a little paragraph, and then that's what I had at first. And then it still looked a little basic, so I added some like small little squares in a random pattern, and made them a pretty basic pink in it, and lowered the opacity on some are higher. I think I went from like 5-10% and then 20%, and then to really finalize it, I added in a couple of random lowercase g's to just kind of add more content to the poster.
Sure. Okay. Oh, good to explain the opacity. I was going to ask you to explain that if you didn't, and that was good decisions.
It was difficult deciding how much opacity to have on the lowercase g's
Yeah.
because I did have them in such random spots. And originally down here in this corner, this G was a lot uh, higher on the opacity. I think I had it about 40%, and it made it kind of hard to read this unless you were really close. So
Right.
I had a lower on quite a bit on that one.
Okay. The number one, is it that small in Garamond? I'd have to look that up. Is it?
It actually is smaller.
It is smaller. Okay, because that's I was thinking it was, and so that's good because that definitely shows up as one of the interesting attributes of the font. Okay, great. Thoughts for anyone? Belinda, thoughts?
I like the colors and I like how it's everything. Hold on, sorry. I like how it's like coming out at you. It's not just one solid. It's it's got some depth to it.
Does have some good 3D things going on, right?
I'd like to mention something about the G's that it's really random.
Yeah.
I don't know where I came across the idea, but I know I wasn't home at the moment when I came up with it. 'Cause I had the idea in the back of my head, I just never introduced it until I was finalizing it, and I remembered last second. It was a character from Batman. It's one of the villains. I think it was the Riddler, where he had the I think it was like a couple letters on his suit,
Huh.
and that's where I got that idea from. And then I also tried to do the same effect with the Georgia where it was bouncing off with the 1993, but it just ended up making it look weird.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't think about that, but you're right. Although because Georgia is bouncing off so much, I'm really not missing it over in the 1993.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else think that looks strange, or
Well,
should he have that bouncing off? No. What do you think?
I actually think it was a smart choice to have it just be straight. I think that it would have created kind of a weird design because then you have all those body like information, like the different styles, and then also that paragraph. Basically, it would just kind of feel off, in my opinion. It allowed the
Yeah.
Georgia to be what it was, but
Yeah.
kept everything else pretty good.
You have some overlap in the number with the background, so there is some overlap there. Okay. Thoughts, Nick? Thoughts?
Yeah, like you said, the stability of the 1993 really draws your eye from top to bottom. Um, I like not only the color choice but the opacity decisions that you made. I love the geometric shapes in the background. The backwards G is definitely a nice touch. Overall, good design.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I also appreciate that he kind of filled in the space. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was a good choice.
The only thing that might improve this is, and I don't know how you do it yet, it's one of those things and it might not work, is so you have those squares in the background, which are working. So that's working. It would be interesting if somehow that was a very zoomed in part of a letter instead of just a square.
I actually tried that with
You
the
tried that?
middle G.
Okay.
And it was interesting, but I was willing to try more
Okay.
because I wasn't completely satisfied with it. I liked how it looked, but I just wanted to add just more and more opacity because I was having a lot of fun with the opacity.
Okay. Yeah, and I think because the G is prominent, and this is a very curvilinear typeface, a lot of curves, that you would have had to go with a letter that was more square-like, so like parts of an M or something like that. So, but anyway, okay, I'm glad you tried that. Okay, it's good. It's always good to try things out. Okay, great. You want to unshare yours? Nick, you want to share yours?
Sure. Can you see it?
Yep, yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So from my last design, the only things I changed were I moved over the ampersand, added the question mark because I liked its design, and instead of having these in like the types in a very like rigid formation, I moved the @ symbol over and then just kind of placed them around it.
Oh yeah, okay. I see that you. And I have to say, I think it's a big improvement to have more of the ampersand showing than you did.
Yeah.
Do you like that, or do you? You can disagree with me.
It didn't bother me either way, but it definitely
Okay.
fills in the empty space at the top, so it's fine.
What was where the question mark was? Was another
There
letter
was
there?
no question mark.
Ah, okay.
Yep,
Okay.
it was just the block of text was a little higher and there was nothing here, so I decided to bring the block of text down a bit and fill in that space with the question mark.
I think that works. Okay. I think that's an improvement because yeah, you're right. I've forgotten. So the whole paragraph was up there. So adding another actual symbol. Okay. Great. Noah, thoughts?
I really love this design. Every part of it is incredibly interesting. Great use of space. It's just the color palette. I like the color choice was a really great one because it just plays off of all the colors. Like it enhances the visual experience. So awesome, amazing.
Thank you.
Working good. Belinda, thoughts?
I really like the colors as well, and it just pops out at you wherever you're looking, and just keep drawing your eye to different parts of the poster.
Okay. Yep. Daniel?
I'm on the boat with the color palette that Nick decided to go with this, and I like what he did with the at symbol at the bottom and kind of made it less rigid than it was before. I think it adds some uniqueness to the design, and I don't know why, but the numbers are really playing with me on this design. The way they're formatted. It's not that I don't like it or anything. It's just it's my focus point, which I think is interesting. I'm not sure why,
Well,
but I
yeah,
love the
yeah.
design.
It's interesting. I mean, there are some things that Nick has set up and then broken. For example, you've got the reflecting U's, but then no other reflecting elements in some ways, not large elements. Then you have the triangle of the number set up, and then you almost repeat that with the triangular shape at the bottom of the the different styles. So you have some things you've sort of set up as rules, but then broken, which I think is working. Nick, tell us about your choice. So Paul Renner, the R is right a tangent to the edge of the poster. What do you think about that?
I actually liked that it went off a little, but it
is it actually off a little bit? Is it a little cut off?
Yeah, it cuts off the R a little there.
Okay, good. Okay, because I was saying I would play with, and I just couldn't see. There is a little bit of a crop. Okay, because
I didn't want it to be completely cut off.
Right, because sometimes if you have an exact touching of like an exact point, that can set up a weird dynamic that can not work well. So okay, good. So you have a little crop there because it's working okay. Okay, you can zoom back out. You got some good. You got things lined up well, which is nice. I mean, to Daniel's point, I mean, you could decide to put the numbers, someplace else besides that triangle. Although that is so interesting, I'm for leaving it there for this.
I know what I'm thinking of now, and it's so random. It's bowling pins.
Yeah.
Bowling pin. You're right. It is the bowl. Is interesting. Is that the actual number of pins? 10 pins?
Yes.
There are 10 pins. You're right. Yes.
Yep.
So that we'll call that a Freudian slip because that was not my intention, but I actually do bowl. So that's really funny that you said that, and
Wow.
I didn't think of that. That must have been subconscious.
Yeah, that probably
Um,
is conscious.
but I was definitely going for geometric shapes because it's a geometric sans serif. So I wanted to make sure I made sure that the numbers were in a triangle. And I actually wasn't going for a triangle down here per se, but it was more like a semicircle.
Right.
And then, I mean, most of the letters forms are in a very rigid shape, kind of given that rectangular feel. But if nothing else, the text is in, that square format, essentially.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, great. You can unshare that. Okay, everyone be sure and post their finals to Blackboard. Sometimes I see them in class and then you guys haven't posted them as the final. And even though I've seen them, definitely got to get them in Blackboard. Okay. I am going to, before we get into the next assignment, excuse me, I want to share with you guys 2 more examples of the golden section. You do that. I can find it. Go. This is not the greatest example, but can you see what I'm talking about? Where the apple, where it has the circles and the square next to it, the golden ratio.
Yeah.
So what's interesting about this is obviously, well, not obviously, the people doing design, they definitely want to go with an apple, and then they decided to have the leaf was a decision, to have the bite out of the apple was a decision, and things like that. And so where they came up with the whole use of the golden ratio was not in the deciding, for example, to have a bite or not. I think they decided that without the golden ratio. But when they were deciding, what should the bite look like and what should the leaf look like and what should the size and the proportions be, that's when they turned to the golden ratio. And what's nice about that is it does set up the right, especially in the size of the leaf. As you can see, they use the second largest circle in the golden ratio and had them intersect and had that intersection shape become the leaf. And so that's a very nice way to do that. Also, if you start to use the golden section, start to use these circles like this, it can be really easy to come up with a shape like that in Illustrator because it's so easy to do circles and have an intersect and drop out the intersection and things like that. So that's another thing that you think, especially the bite mark. So that could have been multiple semicircles, but they just did one. So anyway, you can see they did the golden section, they literally just turned it slightly and then applied the sizes of the circles that fit in to those shapes. And so that was an example of the golden section. Let me do another one. And these are, Apple is pretty recent. And then here's the Twitter one that's obviously pretty recent. Again, I think that they did not, in their thumbnail part, think, we're going to do it golden section wise. Although you can see down here some different ideas for it, which have some of the same slant. But like this down here is not the golden section, that little bird, necessarily. But then, when they started to design it, this is when they had the figuring out, well, how do we pick the size of the wings versus the size of the head? And so what's interesting is they picked the big circle and then went again with the secondary. Oh, this is the third circle. So not the secondary, but the third largest to figure out the shape of the head and then the wings and the attachment of that wing. So it's how they did the final design not necessarily, you can see they go crazy with trying to figure out some of that stuff. But it is how they figured out the size of the wing versus the head versus the whole shape. Have you guys ever seen either of those logos like that?
Yeah, I think
Not
so.
broken
I think
down.
it's actually towards the beginning of the school year.
Okay. So sometimes it's not that you think about it when you're doing your thumbnails. It's when you go to do the formal design or the digital design that the golden section can really come in. Okay. Let me get rid of those so they don't use up all the power on my laptop, which shouldn't, but. So if you haven't, I'm not going to show the videos in the class. You should definitely watch the videos in the Blackboard section. I put it up there a couple of months ago, but there's one that's 100 word marks, and it's very interesting. You have to watch it a couple of times or pause it, but definitely watch that one. So what we're doing is, some people we're calling this the word mark project, or the assignment 8, the word mark logo. Interesting enough, I generally have not used the word mark with describing this type of logo. I had always referred to it until a couple of years ago as a logo type. And then lately the word mark sort of came in as an option for that. So if you hear people out in the industry or in different classes saying, we're going to do a logo type or a word mark logo, those are the same things. There's some confusion about that. And the key, and what's interesting about doing this type of word mark is, or this type of logo, is there is some modification to it, but it is based on a typeface, usually existing, and then you're modifying it slightly, but still leaving the word, still having the word, like, FedEx or Federal Express. So there's still a word there, in that case. And different from a logo where it's a completely wordless symbol, like the AT&T logo, which is like a simplification of the world or the globe. So a word mark logo it has the word in there, it has the name of the company or a service of some type. And so what's interesting about it is it's one of the things, as a new designer, it is the type of logo that you can do right now. And a lot of people in school can do word mark logos and sell them and charge people for them. And you see them all over the place. As you guys start driving around, you need to look. It's very common to see plumbing as on the side of a truck, but it's, Dave's Plumbing, or, T and, TZ Plumbing. So I sometimes in this assignment, I've had us pick 2 letters and a name, like AB Finance or something like that. But we sort of already went down that path with some other things. So it's a word mark in that you have to have the whole word. You're using an existing typeface, but then you're modifying it in some way. And so we're going to spend some time on this. I think we're going to spend 3 weeks on this project, because it is something we want to have a good process, and I'm going to introduce a new part to it, and that we haven't really done before. This sort of a more complex research component, and it's something that I want to spend some time on because you guys can start doing it right now while you're still in school. Okay, so with that, I'm going to share the screen here. Has everyone seen their assignment? Anyone seen those yet?
As in
No.
like assignment, do you mean like the one we were?
The word I gave you and the company I actually assigned to you? No?
No.
Okay. It is, if you looked on it, it's down there. I hopefully did better this time in duplicating. And obviously you can see this is not just our class, it's the other class as well. So if you look at it, so you have your own, and these are mostly restaurants. a restaurant. So Noah, you have Jamaican Me Crazy. Is that the right Noah? That's you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I have several Noahs. We have several Noahs in this class. So Nick, you have Turn Up the Beat.
Love it.
Let's see. Belinda, you have, oh, darn it. Belinda, you know what? I don't want to have two of you guys do the same thing. Because Belinda, you have Jamaica Me Crazy also. Who else is in? I tell you, boy, trying to get the duplicate thing is obviously I have a hard time with that. Because there are so many different things. Daniel, here you have Drink Wisconsinly, which I had never heard of till recently. That's pretty funny. And Leah has, no, there's a duplicate again too. So I'm going to, here I am trying not to duplicate, and I duplicated multiple times already. Okay. So Noah, you're going to do Jamaica Me Crazy. Nick, you're going to do Turn Up the Beat. And Daniel, yours is different, Drink, right? And Belinda, is yours the one that's duplicate?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay. Belinda, you got the rare chance. Any of these you like besides those three that have already been taken?
Okay, hold on. Let me look.
Open Sesame, The Dairy Godmother, Walk and Roll, Walk and Roll, Lord of the Fries, sorry.
Can I do Queen of Tarts? Is that available?
I think Kira is in this class, so let's not take that from her.
Okay. Then I can do Lord of the Fries.
Lord of the Fries. That's a good one. I don't think that's a repeat with this class. Okay, so you have Lord of the Fries. I will change that on there. Let me write that down. I can't believe I worked so hard to just mess it up again. Okay. So those are y'all's assignments. Let me stop sharing that. And those are, I believe, I'm hoping that those are real restaurants. That was my plan for all this, my evil plan. So then here is the, well, let me see here, application window. Let's see if this will work. Can you guys see the MS Word file? It says your company name here?
Yes.
Okay. So in this WordMark project, you have a real company. So they obviously you are going to be doing some research on that company on the internet, and I want you to formally fill out this template. And so first of all, you're going to describe the business with all kinds of words, at least 10 adjectives, which we sort of did before in this class. And then I want you to look up some information on the demographics of the market. So for example, let's go down the Lord of the Fries, since we were talking about that with Belinda. So that restaurant is in Savannah, Georgia. So you have to go to Savannah, Georgia and look up some demographics. What's, who do you think is the age of this type of restaurant? Is it families that come, married couples? So you're doing some, some research into the demographics of Savannah, Georgia and the restaurant market there. So you're answering these questions. And if you come up with other information on the demographics, you can add it. This template is in Blackboard. Then you want to talk about the location. What's unique about the location? In this case, Savannah, Georgia. Where is it in Savannah? Is it out on the beach? Is it in the historic district? Is it next to the college? There's a big college in Savannah, Georgia. Is it next to the college? That type of thing. You want to list what they have on their menu. Okay. Then you want to take that research that you get and do what we call the SWOT analysis. And SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so you're going to, in this case, it's done outline format. Sometimes I will put up a chart as an example also on Blackboard. And you can do it in the chart format or this format, but this is the template for that I have in MS Word, so it might be easier for this. And again, it's outline format. You're trying to figure out, what do they do well? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What are their opportunities? What are threats? And threats are, things that would cause them to go out of business, or things that would cause them to not be able to, keep going as a business. There we go. And so you're going to do some research, and what you use in this case, as you're doing the research, you want to think, because we're going to do a logo, you want to be using your research to begin your ideation process. And by that, you want to be thinking about, okay, so what type of income range would lead to the use of color, or the use of the typeface you're going to pick, and that type of stuff. So this research is going to help you or guide you in your thumbnails. So the more research you do, the more then information you have to do your thumbnails. Is that making a little bit of sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
A little bit of sense. And the SWOT thing, you're going to hear about that probably. You'll be so sick of it when you get into graphic. Are you guys in graphic design 2 also?
Next
No.
semester.
Not yet. I know in graphic design 3, we for every project we do a SWOT analysis. So I'm introducing this to you guys here, and then we are going to use it till you're sick of it, probably. I hope not, but let me share again. But it is something that is a great way to think about how to gather information to help your design process. So here's the project. Obviously, we're going to do a wordmark logo. These are the different names that we picked. So we're dividing this project up into 3 sections. So the first section, deadline 1, is we're going to do the research, which is due Wednesday, and I'd like to talk about that with you guys on Wednesday in class. And then we're going to do some thumbnails, 30 thumbnails it's due Sunday, and the deadline dates aren't on this; they're up on the Blackboard. Then deadline 2 is after we do the thumbnails this week. Then the following week, the second week of the project, we will be working on roughs for the mark. And I say in the project sheet, we're going to do at least 2 roughs. Who was it? Noah, didn't you start on one and then have to discard it and go to the next one for your final even?
Yeah.
Yeah. I say 2 roughs. Certainly in the past, I've had students do more than 2 because of the design process and things that happen, and you sort of go down one path and it just doesn't work out like you want it to. So we want to do at least 2, but some students end up doing more. And then we're going to do the final. And you can see the final will include, we're going to turn it, well, you're going to turn in your research, then your thumbnails and the roughs, and then the final. And with the final, we are going to do a little summation of things you did in the final and why. And basically, that's just a slight rewrite, really, of your research. It's taking your research and said, I picked this typeface because of my research into the demographics. Pick this color because families go there and these colors are family friendly, blah, blah, blah. So as you make design decisions, we're going to, write a 250 brief, and it can be outline format, of the decisions you made and hopefully taking them back to your research. Okay. Oops, I might have unshared too soon. Am I still? Can you guys still see the word mark? Yeah, there we go. So obviously there's that. In the project sheet, I've got some thumbnails, not enough of them. I also have the chart for the SWOT, if you want to do it as a chart, which is helpful, and just some examples. of different word marks. You can see some of these are good, some that we know, some really fancy word marks, as you guys know, and this is pretty common because they, as you can see, it has the arrow that's made out of the Fed, out of the E and X in FedEx. And also in a word mark, we are modifying like this shelter. I think this is, and the FedEx is a classic word mark in that a shape was created out of the letter, but the letter is not modified too much. In FedEx, it's not modified at all or very little. Whereas this Q, this social, the O has been modified to look like a thought bullet, a spoken word bullet. So there is some modification. It's usually pretty slight. Like here's the hole with the hole looks like the O is going down into the hole. Okay. This back on. Oh, there we go. So I definitely counsel you to watch the 100 word mark videos. Some of those, the video is, I guess it's a video. It could be a GIF. So I guess it's a video. Some really good ones to get some ideas in that video. Has anyone watched that yet?
I haven't.
Okay. No. Okay. It's really worth watching, and it's like 5 minutes long because there are 100 of them, and it just goes through them really fast with some bad, boring music. But it's worth seeing because it shows you so many different options on things to modify letters with, to give you some ideas of some really good examples. Some are very simple, some are a little bit more complex. So this week, we're trying to do the research and the SWOT. Have you guys ever looked up some demographic research before?
I've tried, but it's kind of vague. I don't know. It's just, I guess the things that I tried searching up, like demographics for, they just didn't really have the research available for me to just oh yeah, this is the demographics for people.
You know what? I will put it in about an hour. It always takes uploading the video and some other things, modifying, for some reason after class, modifying our Blackboard seems to be some waiting period. And I don't know if that's my computer, but anyway, it usually takes me about an hour to modify Blackboard after our class. I don't quite know why that is. I put it up right away sometimes and it just doesn't show up for an hour. I think that's maybe because a lot of people are using Blackboard during this time period. Maybe this just takes a while. But anyway, so what I'm going to do, I will put up some websites. And so, for example, the census, the U.S. Census is a great place. I'm going to put up that website. So you go into these websites, and they are searchable websites. And then you usually have to type Savannah or Salisbury or Charlotte, and then you get the information. So the census is a great place. I'll put that link up. The Chamber of Commerce is a great place. I'll put that link up. I'm trying to think if there's another organization that has that by city. And so you just have to look at the city. Noah, which one is yours? Which restaurant?
It's the Jamaica Me Crazy.
Jamaica Me Crazy, okay. Jamaican restaurant. So that does not have a city in it. I'll have to look. Oh, locally owned. So that's Salisbury. Okay. So I will put up the links to all these different places, and usually you can go to that link, and if you type in the city, then you'll get all the information. And I will try. I don't have a particular link that has restaurant specific. Usually they talk about, in general, all restaurants. They don't talk about a particular restaurant. So I will share some of those links in Blackboard so you're not searching for that. So there's some pretty good information about from these websites, either Chamber of Commerce, the census, and there's about 4 of them, and I will put those up as links at the bottom of, what are we in? Module 11. Okay. Any other questions? So research by Wednesday, and I'll like to talk about it in class on Wednesday with you. It's obviously not due till midnight, and then Sunday, the thumbnail. Questions? Okay. I will talk to everyone on Wednesday then.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right.
See ya.
Thank you.
Good day.
All right, thank you. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.